The moon was rising, silver, merciless, too close. Every time its light crowned the sky, I felt the beast tear at me from within. My palace walls could not hold him. My guards could not stop him. If I stayed among my people, I would shred them apart before dawn. So I left, as I always did. Deep into the woods, far from watchful eyes, I bound myself to the stones with silver chains I had ordered forged long ago. Iron would never hold me. Only silver could bite deep enough, poison enough to keep the wolf from escaping. The cuffs clamped shut around my wrists, cold and unforgiving. I welcomed the pain. Better my flesh burn than my people's blood soak the palace floors. And still, the thought mocked me. What kind of king hides in the woods to protect his people from himself? What kind of ruler becomes the very monster he once swore to slay? I remembered the chamber where it began. My brother stood before the council, his lips curved in that poisonous smile. He spun lies from threads of truth, calling me savage, claiming my wolf was unfit to rule. The council leaned in, hungry for fear, blind to loyalty. They wanted to weaken me. They wanted to render me useless. When they rose to deliver the curse, my wolf lunged against my skin. I could have torn them apart. My claws itched for my brother's throat. I saw their fragile bodies, their robes, their smug certainty, and I wanted blood. But I did not move. Because to lash out would prove them right. To fight would show them the beast they claimed I was. So I stood. I accepted the sentence. I let the chains of moonlight and silver coil into my blood, binding me to madness. A king in daylight, a beast in moonlight. I had to stay away from my citadel, for fear of hurting my household, because of my uncontrollable beast that awakened on its own at night. Forever torn between man and wolf. The wind rattled the trees now, scattering leaves across the ruined clearing I had made from years of nights like this. My chest heaved with each breath, already too shallow. My claws itched beneath my skin. My eyes blurred, the shift pulling at me too soon. I dropped to my knees, growling low. So I waited for the madness, for the tearing of bones, for the moment when I would stop being Felix, Alpha King, and become only hunger and rage. But the wind carried something new, a scent. Not pine, not rain. Something softer. My head snapped up, chains clanking. My wolf surged, ears straining. "Go!" I rasped, voice already breaking. The figure in the shadows didn't move. Lightning split the sky, spilling light over her face. Small, drenched. Wide eyes shining with fear, and something else. An omega. Fragile. Alone. Too close to the place no one should ever come. I pulled the chain hard, making it shriek against stone. Sparks flared. She flinched but didn't flee. And then, through storm and silence, I heard her whisper. Words not meant for me, but cutting deeper than the curse ever had. "No one deserves chains." My wolf snarled. My heart stuttered. The moon had risen, and with it, something I had not felt in years. She had stepped into my prison, and nothing would keep us untouched. The storm pressed harder, drowning the forest in silver and shadow. Yet she remained. Her scent cut through rain and mud, delicate, trembling, laced with something hollow. Abandoned. I knew that smell. Omegas carried it when no pack claimed them or when they are strays. She was fragile. Too fragile to survive a night near me. My chains clanked as I lunged forward, fangs bared. "Leave!" The word was ripped from my throat, half growl, half command. She flinched but didn't move. Lightning seared across the clearing, painting her small figure in pale fire. Drenched hair clung to her cheeks. Her chest rose fast with breath, but her eyes didn't break from mine. Fear was there, yes, but not enough. Not enough to send her running like the others. My lips peeled back in a snarl. "Do you want to die, girl?" The sound echoed through the storm, crueler than I meant, because beneath the rage sat something worse. Fear. Fear that she was seeing me like this, bound, cursed, brought low. She took a single step forward. Reins slid down her neck, and her thin dress clung to her skin. "No one should suffer alone," she whispered, voice shaking. The words struck harder than any silver. I yanked my chains, stone groaning under the strain. Sparks spat into the night. "You think me suffering?" I spat. "You have no idea what waits in these woods." Still, she stayed. Every instinct screamed to drive her away, to keep her from the monster clawing at my bones. My wolf paced inside me, hackles rising, ears pricked not in warning, but recognition. The beast stirred at her scent, restless, hungry, drawn. I closed my eyes against it, biting down hard until I tasted blood. She could not stay. I would not let her. But her voice rose again, carried with the storm, so soft I almost thought it a prayer. "Moon, guard him. Even in chains, he's still a king." My eyes snapped open. Heat slashed through me, unfamiliar, unwelcome. My wolf howled against the silver, claws raking at my skin, answering her voice like it belonged to him. And for the first time in years, I feared not the curse, but what it might mean that she was here. The Omega lingered, her prayer echoing in the storm, and my wolf answered. Her words still echoed in my skull. "Moon, guard him. Even in chains, he's still a king." Foolish prayer. Dangerous prayer. Yet it clung to me, louder than the storm, louder than the curse gnawing through my veins. She should have fled. She should have turned back. Instead, she stepped closer, rain streaking her face, her scent wrapping around me like smoke. "Stay away," I snarled, yanking my chains until sparks leapt from stone. My voice cracked with fury, but beneath it lay something worse. Fear. Fear of her eyes on me. Fear of her seeing not a king, but a beast. She didn't move. Her chest rose in sharp breaths, but her gaze never broke from mine. That prayer still hovered on her lips, trembling in the storm. Then, Goddess help me, I felt it. An invisible thread, pulling taut between us. My wolf rose against the chains, ears pricked, chest rumbling. Not in warning, but in recognition. The bond was there, alive, ancient. She didn't know it, couldn't name it, yet it dragged her closer step by step. Her hand reached out, trembling, grazing the cuff at my wrist. The silver hissed against my skin, but her touch was something else entirely. Gentle, reverent, almost holy. As if she believed her prayer could be sealed in skin and blood. I should have torn back. I should have roared until she ran. But she leaned in, eyes shining with that strange mix of terror and faith, and her lips brushed mine. It wasn't passion. Not yet. It was mercy. A blessing. A kiss that tasted of storm water and something sweeter. Something that burned deeper than silver. The world cracked open. My chains groaned, trembling as if her lips had struck them harder than claws ever could. The curse inside me writhed, not in rage, but in response. Power surged up my spine, my wolf howling, shackles straining to break. I tore back, gasping, breath ragged. "What have you done?" The words broke on a growl, my body shaking, my vision flickering between man and beast. She pressed her fingers to her lips, stunned, whispering as though to herself. "I don't know." But I knew. Her prayer had become flesh. The bond had spoken, and the chains would never hold the same again, because this was something the council had not planned for. A crack split the silver, faint but real. And I realized with violent certainty this Omega was not ordinary. For a breath, just one shuddering breath, the storm inside me eased. The fire of the curse dulled. The silver biting my wrist stopped burning. My wolf, always clawing, always maddened, fell silent. All because of her. I dragged air into my lungs, sharp and clean. My body remembering strength I hadn't felt in years. Every nerve screamed at me to cling to it, to cling to her. But pride is a crueler chain than silver. My eyes snapped to hers, glowing faint in the stormlight. "What are you?" The words cracked like a whip, my voice shaking with something too close to desperation. Her lips parted, trembling. Water streaked her face, plastering her hair to her skin. She looked so small, so breakable. And still, she did not look away. "No one," she whispered. The word struck like a knife. No one. She had undone my curse with a single touch, steadied my wolf with a single kiss. She had shattered chains forged by the council's decree, and she dared call herself nothing. My jaw clenched, fury surging to cover the truth clawing at me. I yanked at the shackles, forcing sparks against stone. "Lies. You're something. You're too much." But she only shook her head, rain dripping from her lashes. "I'm no one, just a girl." The bond thrummed, a pull I couldn't sever. My wolf pressed against my skin, restless, watching her with hunger not of flesh but of soul. He wanted her closer. He wanted her like air. I bared my teeth to the night. "Get away from me. Do you hear? Whatever game you're playing, whatever curse you've tangled yourself into, it will kill you." And yet, even as I spoke, the strength she'd sparked in me flickered. The storm inside began to return, cold claws sinking back into my veins. The curse coiled tighter, furious at being denied. My chest tightened, ribs straining against the pressure. Without her, I was weakening again. I dropped my head, breath rattling, chains groaning with each tremor. I would not beg. I would not admit the truth. But the bond whispered it anyway. She was tied to me now, whether I accepted it or not. Hook transition. Pain ripped through me sharper than before. And in that hollow space, I knew with a bitter certainty, without her, I would not last the night. The palace greeted me like a tomb at dawn. I crossed the marble halls in silence, my guards bowing low, their eyes carefully averted. None dared ask why their king vanished each night. None dared question the shadows that clung to me, the scars that burned fresh with every moonrise. By the time I reached my chamber, the mask had already cracked. I slammed the doors shut and leaned against them, breath ragged, chest aching. The kiss haunted me. I pressed my palm to my mouth as though I could scrub it away, but the memory clung. Warmth against cold rain, mercy against chains. For one impossible heartbeat, her lips had calmed the beast. My wolf had gone still, listening, breathing, alive but quiet. Quiet. I had not known quiet in years. I stalked to the mirror, meeting my own reflection. Hollow eyes rimmed in silver fire, a king draped in scars. "Weak," I spat at the glass. "You let her touch you. You let her see you." The council's words hissed in my skull. A beast in moonlight. A danger to his own throne. My brother's smirk carved itself into memory. That day I bowed my head and accepted the curse. I had sworn never to prove them right. Never to surrender to weakness. And yet one Omega's touch had undone me more than chains ever could. I dragged a hand through my hair, pacing, restless. The scent of her clung to me still, stubborn as smoke. My wolf prowled beneath my skin, whispering the word that threatened to shatter everything. Mate. I crushed the thought before it could bloom. I was king, cursed, bound. If I let her matter, I would lose everything. The moonlight cut through the window, silver and merciless. My chest tightened, bones straining with the pull of the shift. I could not fight it here, not among my people. I turned, tearing open the doors again. There was only one place left for me when the moon called. Back to the chains, back to the woods. That night, being the next, I thought she'd be gone. Omegas didn't survive long without packs. The woods swallowed the weak. But when the moon clawed its way over the trees, she came. Small steps through the mud, arms cradling scraps of food wrapped in torn cloth. Her scent hit me first. Warm bread, faint herbs, rain-soaked skin. My wolf surged, ears pricked, chest rumbling. Mine. The words scraped against my bones, fierce and insistent. I yanked my chains until the stone cracked. "Leave!" My voice thundered across the clearing, more command than plea. "Do you think I need your pity?" She flinched, but did not turn away. Instead, she knelt near the stones, laying the food down carefully as though feeding a wounded animal. "You need to eat," she whispered. The arrogance of it cut me raw. "I am king." My roar shook the trees, silver biting deeper into my wrists as I lunged against the chains. "Do not treat me like some mongrel scavenging for scraps." Her eyes lifted to mine, wide but steady. "Kings starve too," she said softly. Then, my heart questioned. Does she not know I can get all the food I want? My chest heaved, fury warring with something far worse, hunger. Not for the food, for her. For her scent, her nearness, the quiet defiance in her voice. The bond coiled tighter around me, a leash I could not break. I turned my face away, biting down hard enough to taste blood. If I let her closer, if I accepted what she offered, I would never drive her out again. And I could not afford weakness. Not now. Not ever. "Take it back," I growled. "Take it and go, before I tear you apart." But even as I spat the words, my body betrayed me. My wolf pressed forward, hackles low, not in threat, but in want. My claws ached, my chest rumbled with a sound I hadn't made in years. Not a warning, not a roar, a purr. She didn't hear it. Or maybe she did. And that was why her lips curved the slightest bit, a flicker of something like hope. I slammed my eyes shut, straining against myself, against him, against the truth clawing free. In the silence, my wolf's voice rose inside me, low and certain, echoing through bone and blood. "She is ours." The night split with a sound sharper than the storm, branches snapping under a heavy step. I stiffened, chains rattling. Not her, not the Omega. This tread was heavier, deliberate. My wolf's ears pricked, a snarl rumbling low in my chest. The intruder stepped into the clearing, torch flaring against the rain. A scout, not one of mine. My men knew better. The stench of a rival pack clung to him, acrid and wrong. His eyes widened when they met mine, chained and writhing in silver. And then, worse, his gaze slid to her. Melanie. She froze, breath sharp, her small frame haloed in stormlight. The scout grinned. "The Alpha King, cursed and bound like a dog. They'll pay well for this." Rage tore through me. I lunged, silver screaming as it cut deeper, but the chain snapped taut before I could shred him. Sparks flew. My wolf howled, desperate for blood. He lifted his blade, aiming for me. "Run!" I roared at her, because I didn't want her to witness the beast in me, but she didn't. Goddess help me, she didn't. She moved in front of me, her arms outstretched, as though her fragile body could shield me from the blow. "No!" The word cracked like thunder. For a heartbeat, the scout faltered, astonished at the sight of a trembling Omega guarding a chained king. That hesitation was all I needed. I surged forward, dragging every ounce of strength from her scent, from the bond, from the kiss that still burned in my blood. My hand shot out, claws ripping through flesh. The scout screamed, steel clattering to the mud. I would have killed him, ripped him apart until nothing remained. But her voice cut through the red haze, soft, pleading. "Please don't!" I stopped, chest heaving, claws slick with blood. The scout stumbled back, terror replacing bravado. He fled into the storm, but the damage was done. He had seen her. He had seen us. I sagged against the chains, fury and dread coiling tight. She pressed her palms to my chest as though to steady me, though it was her touch that steadied the beast. I met her eyes, and the truth slammed into me like silver. I could no longer deny her, no longer deny this. The council would hear. They would come. My curse was no longer secret, and neither was she. The storm had passed, but the clearing reeked of blood and fear. The scout's torch lay smoldering in the mud, and my chains hung heavy with rain. My wrists burned, silver searing deep where I had torn against it. She should have run. Any sane Omega would have. Instead, Melanie crouched in the muck beside me, her small hands fumbling with a strip of cloth she'd torn from her own dress. "You'll bleed out," she murmured. I bared my teeth, though the fight had already drained from me. "I don't bleed out. The curse won't let me die that easily." "Oh, you're cursed?" she asked, not sounding shocked. She just focused on what she was doing, but it was definitely a new information to her. "Still." Her voice held no tremor, no hesitation. She dipped the cloth in the rainwater pooled beside us and pressed it against my wrist. The silver hissed at the touch, and I growled, snapping my chains against stone. She didn't flinch. She pressed harder, as if to remind me that kings bled the same as anyone. I studied her, more shaken by her calm than by the wound itself. No fear, not even a shadow of it. "Why are you not afraid?" The words came out rougher than intended, suspicion thick in my throat. "Do you not understand what I am?" Her eyes lifted to mine. For a moment, they were not wide with awe or clouded with terror. They were steady, sharp, older than her years. "I do. You're cursed. You're dangerous. But so is the world." The words lodged in me like an arrow. She wrung out the cloth, stained pink now, and continued binding my wrist. Her fingers were deft, practiced, not the hands of someone sheltered. "You think I've been safe?" she asked softly, almost bitterly. "You think I haven't seen worse than chains?" The fire in her voice silenced me. She leaned back slightly, eyes fixed on the wound she tended. "I found myself at the edge of the forest when I was a child after I escaped the assassins who ended my parents. No pack, no identity. Just a scent mark of abandonment so no one would take me in. Omegas like me, alone, we don't last. Unless..." She tied the cloth tight, jaw set. "Unless we learn to be braver than our fear." Her confession rolled over me, heavy and sharp. I thought of the hollow years I had endured, cursed and chained, a king by day, a beast by night. I had called it survival. She had done the same, though no crown had shielded her. No palace had given her walls. Bravery was her scar, as much as mine. I realized then that she wasn't fearless because she didn't see the danger. She was fearless because she had walked beside it every day and had not broken. My chest tightened, a strange ache spreading through the fury I usually carried. I wanted to deny it, to snarl, to drive her out of me. But her scent lingered, warm, stubborn, unyielding. "You should hate me," I muttered, voice low. "I could have torn you apart. You saw what I nearly did to him." She tied off the bandage and sat back on her heels, meeting my gaze. "I've been torn apart before, not by claws but by hunger, by cold, by the silence of being unwanted. This?" She gestured to the chains, the clearing, the wounds. "This doesn't scare me." Her defiance lit a spark inside me I hadn't felt in years. Awe, not of her strength alone, but of the mirror she held up to mine. I leaned my head back against the stone, closing my eyes, letting her words sink deeper than the curse itself. Maybe weakness wasn't always weakness. Maybe survival carved its own kind of strength. Her voice followed me even as exhaustion dragged me under. Soft, steady, like a thread pulling me through darkness. For the first time in years, when sleep claimed me, the nightmares did not come. Only her voice lingered, whispering through the storm. "Even in chains, you're still a king." The night had fallen quiet, save for the drip of rain sliding from the branches above. My body ached, but the wound she'd bound no longer burned as fiercely. She sat across from me, arms folded, her gaze sharper than the silver at my wrists. "You hide behind chains," she said suddenly. My head snapped up. "What did you say?" "You heard me." Her voice didn't waver. "You're king, aren't you? But every night you crawl out here and bind yourself like a criminal. You'd rather let iron and silver rule you than fight your own curse. A growl tore through me, shaking the stones. You know nothing of it? You don't know what waits beneath my skin. You don't know what I would do to you if these chains broke. Her chin lifted. Then fight. You call yourself king, but you kneel to fear. You kneel to them. The last word dripped venom. Them. The council. My wolf roared inside me, claws scraping, demanding I silence her insolence. But her words coiled deep, striking the part of me I kept buried. The truth I had swallowed the night I bowed my head and accepted the curse. I had told myself it was sacrifice. I had told myself it was leadership. But maybe it had also been cowardice. You think I chose this? I snarled, chains rattling as I lurched forward. You think I wanted to wear shackles forged by my enemies? I accepted it because I had to, because a king who resists the council loses his throne, and if I lost my throne, my people lost everything. Her eyes burned in the firelight. Maybe you were just afraid of losing yourself. The words struck harder than silver ever could. For a long moment, I could only stare at her, breath ragged, fury boiling with shame. Then, against my will, a sound broke from me, low, harsh, foreign. A laugh. It scraped my throat raw, unused for years. Her eyes widened at the sound, though she didn't look away. I laughed, bitter and sharp, because she had done what no blade or curse had managed, pierced through the armor I had forged around my pride. Night after night she came, at first with scraps of food, then with nothing but her voice. She would sit on the wet stones, humming songs half forgotten from her childhood, or whispering stories that sounded more like prayers. Always close, never touching, yet closer than anyone had dared come in years. And though I told myself I hated it, my wolf quieted in her presence. My chains stopped feeling like a prison and more like a shield I could endure, and I knew it was because of the bond. Until the blood moon rose. It felt stronger than the bond. Its crimson light cut through the forest like fire, hotter, crueler than silver. The curse howled awake inside me, tearing through bone and vein. My body convulsed, shackles snapping taut, stone cracking under my claws. "Stay back!" I roared. The sound was barely human, a guttural snarl splitting my throat. My vision blurred red. My wolf clawed for freedom. But she didn't move. She should have run. Any sane creature would have fled the moment my fangs bared. But Melanie stepped closer instead, her face pale, eyes wide, but steady. Her hands pressed against my chest, warm against skin that burned with rage. "It's all right," she whispered, though it wasn't. "I'm here." I lunged, the chains screaming, my claws slicing the air just inches from her cheek. Her hair whipped from the force, but she didn't flinch. She only pressed closer, arms wrapping around me like she could anchor the beast. Her scent flooded me, wild herbs, rain, and something softer, something mine. The bond surged, drowning the bloodlust in its pull. My wolf fought, thrashed, then stilled. My knees hit the earth, chest heaving, breath ragged. She held me until the tremors faded, until my claws retracted and the red haze bled back to silver. I stared at her, horror crashing over me. I could have killed her. I had almost killed her. Yet she had not left. She had chosen to hold the monster until he broke. Awe hollowed me, sharper than any curse. I bowed my head into her hands, vowing silently into the storm that whatever else the council took from me, I would never let myself hurt her again. That night, after the blood moon's rage had passed, the forest lay silent. The chains hung loose around me, slick with blood and rain, but my strength had not deserted me as it always did. My body hummed with power, steady, controlled, almost whole. And the reason sat slumped against my chest. Melanie's breath came shallow, her lashes damp, her skin pale. I cradled her, dread sinking deep. Why was she weakened when I had never felt stronger? My wolf stirred, restless. "Test it," he urged. I bent low, brushing my mouth against hers, just a ghost of a kiss. Her lips trembled under mine, soft, warm, and strength coursed through me again, sharp and undeniable. My wounds knit faster, the silver's bite dulled. My heart steadied, but hers faltered. She swayed in my arms, a faint whimper escaping her throat. Her pulse fluttered, thin as moth wings. No. My voice cracked, horror clawing through me. I pulled back, studying her face, searching for the lie. But the truth was there, stark in her pallor. Every kiss that healed me stole something from her. I gripped the chains, fury boiling. What trick is this? What curse within a curse? She stirred faintly, her lips forming words even as her strength waned. It's nothing. I'm fine. Liar. Brave little liar. My chest constricted, torn in two. One part of me exulted in the relief, in the quiet my wolf had never known. The other part recoiled, sickened because her mercy was costing her life. I touched her cheek, the gesture too tender for a king who had sworn never to feel again. You can't save me like this. Her eyes opened just enough to catch mine. Maybe? I already have. The bond shuddered, tightening until I couldn't breathe. My wolf keened, demanding more. Another kiss, another taste. But I held back, shaking, my lips stained with her faintest trace of blood. I realized with brutal clarity that the council had forged a curse I could never escape, because to save myself, I would have to destroy the only soul my wolf would accept. It dawned on me that the councils had already planned for this. The blood moon had barely dipped when the scent of sage and smoke drifted through the clearing. I knew it before I saw him, one of the council's elders. Old, cloaked, his eyes like cold embers beneath the hood. You! I snarled, silver rattling as I lunged forward. Come to gloat? To see what your curse has made of me? The elder's gaze slid past me, landing on Melanie, still weak from my touch. His lips curved, cruel. So it is true. The bond has chosen her. A growl ripped from my chest, shaking the chains. Stay away from her. He ignored the threat, planting his staff in the mud. You never understood, Felix. The curse was never meant to destroy you alone. It was designed to tether. That was the sacrifice to strengthen us. If you die, she dies. If you rise, she rises. The words struck harder than any silver. I froze, breath ragged. Lies, I rasped. You lie. But even as I denied it, the truth gnawed at me. I had felt it, the way her kiss gave me strength while stealing hers. The way calm for me was burden for her. The bond wasn't mercy, it was a trap. Rage flared hot. You bound me to her, an innocent? The elder's smile thinned. There are no innocents, only pawns in the council's design. You should thank us. She keeps you alive, and when you fall, so will she. Balance. My fury boiled into fire, but before I could lunge, his voice lowered, cruel satisfaction dripping through every word. Your brother understands this. He has already brought the rivals to our side. When you break, he will ascend, and the council will welcome him, a king unshackled by chains. He laughed mockingly. The ground seemed to tilt beneath me. My brother, always waiting, always smirking, was now their chosen heir, and this was their game. Bleed me dry, destroy her, crown him. Behind me, Melanie stirred, weak but fierce. Then I'll rise with him, she whispered, fragile but unbroken. The elder's eyes gleamed. He lifted his staff, and the shadows behind him shifted. Soldiers, rival wolves, stepping forward with blades and snarls. Not for me, for her. My blood turned to ice. Their war was no longer about the cursed king. It was about the Omega who carried my fate and my brother's path to the throne. The elder's torchlight guttered once, and the forest erupted with steel. 5 stepped from the shadows, blades gleaming wet beneath the storm. Not strangers, not rogues. Wolves wearing my brother's colors. His stench, his hunger for my throne, dripped from their armor. Assassins bought with promises of a crown that would never fit his head. I bared my teeth, the silver chains clanking as my wolf surged against my skin. "So he sends dogs to finish what he cannot," I growled. "Tell me, did he pay you with gold? Or with scraps of my throne?" The leader sneered. "Better to serve a king unchained than a beast that hides in silver." Their words scraped me raw, but rage drowned the sting. I lunged, dragging the stone with me until cracks spidered through its base. The first assassin came fast, blade slashing my chest, silver searing through skin and muscle. I caught his throat before he could cry out and ripped it open with my claws, hot blood spraying across the mud. Another came low, stabbing my thigh. Pain ignited, silver burning like fire. I roared, slammed my elbow into his jaw. Bone shattered, and he fell broken at my feet. 3 more. "Felix!" Her voice split the night. I turned and my blood iced. One of them had broken rank, coming for me. Melanie stood frozen only a heartbeat before she moved. Foolish, brave, doomed. She stepped into the path of the blade. The sword meant for my heart carved across her side. Her cry pierced deeper than steel. Her blood hit the ground. Something in me broke. I tore at the chains, muscles shredding, wrists burning raw where silver bit. Sparks shrieked as the link strained, my wolf howling, clawing to be free. "No!" I roared, voice cracking sky from earth. The stone anchoring me split down the middle. The chain stretched, bent, screamed. Again I pulled, every tendon tearing, my vision black with fury. Only one thought cut through the madness, her name. And then, snap. The chain burst apart, silver links flying like shards of lightning. The force hurled me forward, free for the first time in years. I hit the assassin like a storm. My claws ripped through his skull, slamming it against the stone again and again until his body sagged lifeless. I turned, chest heaving, silver blood dripping from my wounds. Melanie was still standing, barely, pale, trembling, her hand pressed against the wound at her side, red spilling between her fingers. Alive. The beast surged, fur burst across my body, bones cracking, my wolf exploding free. Black as shadow, silver-eyed, I landed on 4 legs, chains snapping off me like brittle twigs. The last 2 assassins faltered, fear flashing, but training drove them forward. Their blades sang, arcs of silver cutting through rain. I met them with fury. One swung low, I leapt, jaws clamping on his arm. Bone crunched, his scream split the clearing. I shook him like prey, flinging him aside, his body snapping against a tree. The other buried his sword in my flank. Fire tore through my ribs. I howled, twisting, claws slicing his chest wide open. His blood sprayed hot, bitter on my tongue. He collapsed, drowning in it. Silence. The assassins lay broken. Councils had fled, only the storm roared. I looked at her and something soft flickered in me. Something I wasn't supposed to feel by this time during the blood moon, when I'm in my wolf form. And surprisingly, I shifted back, gasping, and dropped to my knees beside her. I couldn't hurt her. It was the Council's design. Instead, my cursed wolf is to protect her. My hands pressed against her wound, shaking, useless against the flood of red. "You fool," I rasped, voice breaking, tears burning hot in my eyes. "Why would you stand in front of me? Why would you take the blade meant for me?" Her fingers brushed mine, weak but certain. "Because you think love is weakness." Her breath hitched, lips trembling. "But it isn't." Her words cut deeper than steel. My chest cracked open under them, everything I'd buried clawing free. I bowed my forehead to hers, shaking, my wolf keening inside me. "I cannot lose you," I whispered into the storm, fierce and raw. "Do you hear me? I cannot." The vow carved itself into me, heavier than silver, stronger than chains. And I knew then, this war was no longer about me or my cursed throne. It was about her, about the Omega who carried my fate in her blood. And my brother would not stop until he ripped her from me. Dawn broke over the citadel, its first light spilling gold across stone walls that had seen both triumph and ruin. Every morning I returned from the woods, scarred, bloodied, half a man, and put on the mask of king. My people never questioned where I went at night. They feared, they whispered, but they obeyed. This morning I returned, not alone. My wolves gathered in the courtyard, eyes narrowing as they saw her in my arms. Melanie. Small, pale from blood loss, her wound bound as best I could, her scent clinging to me like smoke and storm. Murmurs rose, sharp and unsettled. An Omega? One spat. He dares bring one here in his arms? She reeks of weakness, another snarled. Their voices were daggers, but I walked forward, steady as stone. I mounted the steps of the hall and set her gently on the throne's steps, the seat of my rule, then turned to face them. She is mine. The courtyard fell silent. Even the morning wind seemed to still. I let them see me, blood-streaked, wounds still burning with silver, the curse alive in my veins. Yet stronger than any chain, fiercer than any law, was the bond between us. Last night my brother sent blades for her, I growled, my voice carrying across stone and sky. For me, for her. The council sharpened those knives. They wanted her blood, her death, to see me fall with her. But she lives. She is fate-bound to me, and I claim her. Any who raise claw or tongue against her will answer to me. A ripple passed through them, shock, outrage, fear. Some bowed their heads, others bared their teeth, but none stepped forward. Melanie stirred, lashes fluttering, her hand brushing mine as though steadying me. That fragile touch cut deeper than any council decree. From the shadow of the gate, a messenger stepped forward, cloak dripping with dawn's dew. He knelt, voice like iron. The council summons you, my king. You are to stand trial, not only for breaking your chains, but for claiming what was never yours. My jaw clenched. Trial or trap, it no longer mattered. I had chosen. And my choice was her. Night fell heavy, a velvet silence over the citadel. For the first time in years, I did not walk into the woods to chain myself. I stayed. With her. Looked myself in with her. Because her presence calmed the curse. Melanie lay on my bed, pale from the wound yet stubbornly alive, her eyes following me as though she were memorizing every movement. The firelight painted her skin gold, softening her edges, making her seem untouchable, unreal. You should rest, I murmured, though my own body ached, every scar screaming. Her lips curved faintly. I will, if you stay. The words pierced deeper than steel. I sat beside her, fingers brushing her hair back, marveling at the softness, at the simple miracle that she was here at all. My heart, long buried under chains and silence, beat loud enough to drown thought. You don't understand what it means, I said low. To be near me, to be claimed by me. The council will brand you as dangerous. The wolves will call you weakness. My brother will... My voice broke into a growl. He will try again. She didn't flinch. Then let him. I'd rather live one night as yours than a lifetime as no one's. Her bravery undid me. I leaned down, lips brushing hers. At first it was soft, uncertain, a question neither of us dared answer. Then it deepened, all fire and desperation, her fingers curling into my neck, pulling me closer. My wolf surged with hunger, but it wasn't only need, it was reverence, raw and trembling. When we finally broke, I pressed my forehead to hers. Words scraped from me, torn loose like old wounds reopened. It was my brother, I confessed. The night of the council's decree. I felt his hand on my back when they bound me in silver. He smiled as they laid the curse, knowing I would carry it, not him. He gave me up so the crown would fall into his hands when I broke. Her eyes widened, horror flaring. He's the reason you suffer like this? Yes. My chest heaved, rage and shame warring. And still I let them. I wanted to prove I could lead, prove I was stronger than their curse. But every night since, I have wondered if I was only a fool shackled by love I thought I had lost. Her fingers traced my jaw, steady, anchoring. You're no fool, Felix. You are a king, and chains don't make you less. They only prove you were willing to bear pain to protect your people. Something broke inside me, but this time it wasn't rage. It was the wall I had built around my heart. I kissed her again, deeper, fiercer, until there was no breath left between us. My hand slid over her, careful of her wound, but she arched into me, whispering my name like a prayer. The night became ours, tender, desperate, a claiming neither counsel nor brother could unmake. For the first time, the curse did not feel like chains but like fire, burning through me, remaking me. Hours later, she lay curled against me, her breath warm at my chest. I held her close, as though keeping her in my arms could rewrite fate. My wolf purred low, content, but beneath it throbbed the terror I could not banish. If she was bound to me, then every strike against me was a strike against her. I pressed my lips to her hair. I will not let them take you. Not the council, not my brother, not fate itself. The words were a vow, as binding as the one I had spoken in the woods. But dawn came quickly, too quickly. The clash of steel at the gates shattered the quiet. Voices barked, boots thundered. The scent of armed wolves filled the air, council guards storming the citadel. I rose, fury blazing through my veins. They had come not to summon me, but to drag me, and worse, to seize her. I walked into the council chamber as king, yet every step tasted of a trap. The elders sat in their half-circle of stone, robes gleaming like armor, and my brother waited among them with a smile sharp enough to cut. Melanie walked beside me. She was forced to her knees before them, and I decided to watch. An omega, fragile against the grandeur of the hall. They had stripped her of dignity on purpose, because her shame was meant to shame me. She is unfit, one of the elders pronounced, his voice cold as iron. An omega cannot be Luna, a king who binds himself to her spits on the laws that keep our kind from ruin. I strained against the guards who held me, silver cuffs biting deep into my flesh. My wolf snarled, clawing to break free. "She is mine," I growled, voice echoing through the hall. "You will not touch her." Laughter rippled from the benches. My brother stepped forward, his smirk cruel. "Hear him, defending his weakness. Look at her. Does she look like a queen to you? No, Felix. She looks like chains dragging you deeper into the dirt." Melanie lifted her chin, though her voice trembled. "Chains can hold or they can bind. I am not his weakness. I am his bond." The hall stilled. For one breath, pride swelled in me, fierce and raw. Then the blow came. A woman stepped from the council's side, a rival Luna, one who had once eyed my throne with hungry ambition. She carried a cup, its contents glowing faintly green, silver fire, poison crafted to burn wolves from the inside out. She offered it with a smile that cut. "If you are strong enough to rule, prove it. Drink." The chamber roared with approval, my brother's smirk widening. The trap was clear. Drink and die, or refuse and be branded a coward unfit to reign. Melanie's wide eyes found mine, terror shining in them. I bared my teeth, rage surging hotter than the poison. They thought to humiliate me, to break me before her. But I would endure anything, before I let them see me fall. I took the cup, its heat burning my palm, and swore silently. If silver fire was to claim me, it would not be before I carved my brother's smile from his face. The silver fire hit like molten glass poured into my veins. One swallow and my throat burned raw. Another breath and the fire reached my chest. By the third heartbeat, it had spread everywhere. I staggered, clutching the edge of the stone table, but the world swam, colors twisting, faces blurring. Every nerve screamed, every muscle seared as though 1,000 claws raked me from the inside. The chamber erupted in whispers, gasps, cruel laughter. My brother's smirk gleamed like polished steel. The council watched with cool eyes, their judgment already carved in stone. I tried to stand taller, to remind them I was king, but my knees buckled, crashing me down to the floor. My palms slapped against cold marble, and my wolf writhed within me, trapped, choking. "Felix!" Her voice, Melanie's voice, the only clear sound in the storm of mockery. I raised my head and saw her straining against the guards who held her back, her eyes wide, her lips trembling with fury and fear. She fought for me as no one ever had, yet I could not even stand for her. The poison roared louder. My body convulsed, silver burning down to my bones. My breath tore ragged, every exhale a growl of pain. And in that agony, the old belief slithered back in, cold and certain. Love destroys. It had been love that let my brother close enough to betray me. Love that made me accept the council's curse, to prove myself worthy of a throne they sought to poison. And now love, this bond with her, had dragged her into the fire with me. I saw her face through the haze, streaked with tears, fierce as any queen. And despair gutted me, because I knew I had failed her. I wanted to prove my love. I wanted to prove my strength. But I failed her. My vision dimmed, black edges closing in. The last thing I heard before the darkness swallowed me was her scream. My name, torn from her throat with a terror that broke what little strength I had left. And then, silence. My body collapsed, the hall echoing with her cry. They dragged her forward like she was already guilty, like a thing to be thrown away. I lay on the cold stone, the world a smear of torchlight and shadow. My limbs were lead. The silver fire burned behind my eyes, and every breath was a blade. Still, I watched. I watched because I could not stop watching her be taken. The council rose as one, robes whispering. The elder who had first spoken stepped forward, his face a mask. "For the safety of the Pax," he intoned, "the curse-bearer must be purged." His voice was calm, practiced, like someone who had said easy cruelties 1,000 times. My hands clawed at the marble. I tried to rise. My muscles laughed at me and failed. I could not stand. I could not move. The poison had stolen everything but my sight. I watched their mouths shape sentences I could not answer. I watched their feet go forward like knives. They put a rope in her hands, simple, rough, and forced her to kneel in the center. The room went quiet except for the storm in my blood. Her eyes found mine across the distance. They were bright and fierce. She did not beg. She did not plead. Her chin lifted. She looked like a woman who had learned how to stand even when everything wanted to break her. "You will speak for yourself," the elder said. "Tell us why you should live." She breathed in. The guards held her tight, but her voice came steady. "I will not die to cover your lies," she said. "I am not a curse. I am not a weapon. I am a person." A murmur ran through the crowd. Anger, disbelief. My brother's face was carved into a smile that meant knives. He leaned forward, enjoying the show. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw myself between them and her, to mouth the words that would make the room stop. But my throat was raw. The poison made my limbs betray me. I could only feel the cold stone against my cheek, feel the pulse of the bond like a rope around my chest. The elder lifted a small blade. It glinted green in the torchlight. "For the good of the Pax," he said, "for balance." Melanie closed her eyes for a breath. Then she opened them and looked straight at me. "If you live," she said softly, "then I will not die alone." Her fingers found the edge of the rope the guards had made her hold, and she squeezed it like a promise. My heart broke open. I pushed up, uselessly, a terrible animal sound caught in my throat. Tears burned hot and awful behind my eyes. The air moved slow. Every second stretched like a rope. I whispered, a sound so small it might have been thought or prayer. "If she dies, let me die too." The words hung in the hall. For a single breath, even the elders were silent. Then the elder nodded as if to a bell he had been waiting to ring. The blade rose. The room held its breath. And I felt with a cold certainty the last thing I had feared coming true. The poison pulled me under like a black tide. My wolf, once furious and wild, curled small within me, whimpering. The bond throbbed faintly, like a heartbeat too weak to last. I saw visions. My brother's smirk the night the curse was laid, his hand steady on my shoulder as the council bound me in silver. I should have ripped him apart then. I should have torn the chamber down, stone by stone. Instead, I bowed, desperate to prove I was strong enough to lead. That moment replayed again and again, my submission, his victory. I saw the nights in the woods, my wrists burning, my body breaking. I called it sacrifice. But wasn't it cowardice? I had hidden from my people, hidden from myself. I had called it protection when in truth it was surrender. And now, her, Melanie. Brave, fragile, too fearless for her own life. Her blood had touched my hands, her eyes had seen through every mask I wore. She had stepped into chains that should have terrified her, kissed a monster who should have devoured her. And still, she stayed. And I was letting her die. The chamber blurred. My body lay slack, poison eating me alive. The elders' voices were faint, murmurs in the distance. My brother's laughter curled like smoke. I wanted to snarl, to strike, to rise, but nothing answered. My wolf lay dying inside me, as broken as the king I pretended to be. Maybe this was fate. Maybe love truly was the flaw I had always feared. It had cost me everything, my strength, my throne, her safety. If I let go, if I surrendered, perhaps at least the pain would end. Darkness pressed in. I closed my eyes. Then, soft as breath, I heard her. Not the guards, not the elders. Her. I choose you. The words were not shouted. They weren't even meant for them. They were meant for me. A whisper cutting through the dark. A vow. My heart stuttered. The bond blazed faintly, enough to burn against the poison. My wolf lifted its head, ears pricked. The choice hung before me, surrender or rise. And with her whisper in my blood, I knew I was not finished. Not yet. The elder raised his blade high, silver edge catching torchlight. The hall held its breath, waiting for her blood to spill. Melanie did not cry out. She did not beg. She straightened her back, chin trembling but lifted, and whispered for all to hear, "If this is my fate, then I will meet it." The guards sneered. My brother's smirk deepened. The sword began to fall. And she moved. Like a spark catching fire, she twisted, shoving the guard who held her. His balance broke. She tore free and flung herself across the chamber, skirts whipping, hair plastered to her face with sweat and blood. "Melanie." My voice cracked, raw with poison, too weak to rise, but she was already there, crashing down beside me on the cold stone. Her hands cupped my face, steady though her body shook. "I won't let them take everything," she whispered, eyes blazing. "Not without this." And before I could stop her, before I could even breathe, she kissed me. Her lips burned hotter than the poison, sweeter than mercy, fiercer than prayer. It wasn't timid. It wasn't careful. It was desperate, reckless, the kiss of a woman who had chosen her own ending. Her tears mingled with mine, her breath shuddering into me, her heart hammering against my chest like it was calling my wolf awake. The bond erupted. The poison writhed, furious in my veins, but her kiss drove it back. My wolf surged, clawing for breath, for release. Power returned in shuddering waves where there had only been ash. The elders gasped. My brother's smirk faltered. Even the rival Luna stepped back as the air thickened, heavy with the weight of something older than their laws. I broke the kiss with a ragged growl, my forehead pressed to hers. No more poison, no more fear, and no more chains, I vowed. My voice was no longer hollow. It was thunder, alive. Her lips quivered into the faintest, fiercest smile. "Then rise," my wolf answered, howling through me, claws pressing against skin. Love was not my weakness. It was the fire that would burn them all. The growl tore from my chest like thunder-splitting stone. It wasn't human and it wasn't beast, it was both, a sound that carried through the marble walls, rolling into every shadow of the citadel. The council flinched. My brother's smirk cracked for the first time. Even the rival Luna stumbled back as if the sound itself clawed at her skin. And then, they came. Boots thundered against the floor, doors slammed open. My wolves, my loyal ones, flooded the chamber, their eyes glowing with fire, their scent thick with battle fury. They had heard the call, the bond between Alpha and Pack thrumming alive again after too long in silence. The guards who had held Melanie stumbled back, outnumbered. Swords hissed from sheaths, claws bristled through skin. My wolves formed a circle around us, their growls layering over mine until the hall shook. I rose, the poison still burning but held back by her kiss, her presence. My knees nearly buckled, but my wolf bore me up. And as I stood, Melanie stood beside me, her hand still on my arm, her head held high. "She is mine," I said, my voice echoing, steady as steel. "She is not curse, she is not weakness, she is Luna." A roar answered me, not from my throat, but from my pack. The loyal, the unbroken, the ones who had waited through years of silence. They bared their fangs, eyes fixed not on me, but on her, on their queen. The council rose in fury, shouting for order, but their words drowned under the sound of wolves pledging with their very breath. My brother paled, his ambition faltering as he realized he had not broken me, not yet. Melanie squeezed my arm. Her voice was soft, but it cut through the storm. "Then lead them." I looked at her, at the woman fate had bound to me, and then at my wolves, the pack that still believed. Fear had ruled me for too long. Chains, poison, betrayal. None of it mattered anymore. Love had made me strong, not weak. I threw back my head and howled. The chamber exploded with answering voices, wolf song shaking the very stones. And as the council scattered and my brother drew his blade, I marched with my Luna and my wolves into the final battle. The chamber stank of fear and silver. The council scrambled back to their high seats, voices snapping orders no one obeyed. My wolves stood firm, ringed around Melanie and me, their eyes hard and unyielding. But the rival Luna did not retreat. She stood in the center of the chaos, her jeweled gown torn at the sleeve, her hands steady around a silver torch that bled smoke into the air. Her lips curled. "So this is what you've become, Felix. King of traitors, protector of Omegas." She spat the word like poison. "You disgrace the crown." I stepped forward, the poison still pulsing in my blood, but held at bay by her kiss, by her hand gripping mine. Calm fury carried me, each stride echoing through the stone chamber. I had no need to roar now, my voice alone could cut deeper. "You tried to end me with poison," I said, gaze locking on hers. "You tried to break me with shame. But here I stand, and here she stands. You call her weakness, yet you fear her more than any blade." Her eyes flicked to Melanie, quick and sharp. I shifted, placing myself between them. My wolf snarled low, a warning. The rival Luna's smirk sharpened. "Love is a chain," she hissed. "It will drag you both into the grave, and I will be the one to bury you." The silver torch flared. Flames leapt high, licking the air like serpents, their glow casting the chamber in ghostly light. The council gasped as the fire swirled, a weapon meant to scour wolf from flesh, mate from mate. Behind me, Melanie's grip tightened. Her breath brushed my ear. "Don't let her touch me with it." I turned, meeting her eyes for the barest heartbeat. "She will never touch you." Then I faced the rival Luna again, my steps deliberate, my voice steady thunder. "This is the last time you raise silver against me. and the last time you stand in this chamber." The torch roared brighter, silver fire alive and hungry, throwing sparks that hissed across the marble floor. The rival Luna lifted it high, her scream cutting through the hall as the final showdown ignited. The silver fire surged, a serpent of flame lunging toward us. My wolves growled, ready to throw themselves into the blaze, but I raised my hand. "No." The word cracked through the hall, steady and absolute. The rival Luna's torch screamed as the fire leapt higher, licking toward Melanie. My wolf tore against my skin, desperate, but this time I did not hold him back. I did not chain him. I let him rise. The bond flared with me, her hand in mine, her breath steady at my side. Melanie's presence poured through my veins, stronger than the poison, stronger than fear. For the first time in years, I did not resist the wolf. I welcomed him. The moonlight broke through the chamber's high windows, silver and merciless. It caught me, wrapped me, seared into every scar, every crack the council's curse had left behind. My body arched as the shift took me, bones splintering, fur tearing through flesh, claws slicing the marble beneath me. But the agony was joy, because I felt her in it. Not weakness, not chains, power. The fire struck and shattered. The silver flames bent away from me, splitting against the shield of moonlight that burned across my body. Sparks rained, sizzling out on the stone. The rival Luna stumbled back, her torch guttering. I stood in full wolf form, larger than I had ever been, my fur gleaming like steel beneath the moon. My eyes burned blue-white, the curse unraveling in threads of light that snapped and vanished with each heartbeat. The council's spell, their leash, their weapon, was breaking. The chamber trembled. Elders clutched their seats, faces pale. My brother took one step back, his smirk gone, replaced with naked fear. Melanie's voice reached me, steady, fierce. "You are not their beast. You are mine." And with that, the last chain inside me shattered. I roared, a sound that split stone, shaking dust from the rafters. Power erupted from me, moonlight exploding outward in a tidal wave. It swept through the hall, burning away every trace of the curse. The silver fire guttered out, smoke dying to nothing. When the light faded, silence fell. Only my breathing and the soft sound of Melanie's hand resting over her heart remained. The council stared into the silence, their power broken, and their judgment no longer law. The silence that followed my roar was brief, too brief. A hiss cut through it, sharp and venomous. The rival Luna, wild-eyed and furious, lifted her broken torch and screamed, "Kill them!" Her voice cracked like a whip, and my brother answered. He surged forward with a sword drawn from beneath his cloak, its blade glistening with the shimmer of silver oil. Behind him, soldiers he had bought with promises of power stormed into the chamber. Their armor clanged like thunder, their snarls filling the air. The council shrieked for order, but it was too late. The chamber erupted in war. My wolf lunged, claws scraping against the marble, the ground cracking beneath my paws. One swipe sent 2 soldiers sprawling, armor splitting like paper beneath my strength. Another charged, blade raised high. I snapped my jaws and the sword went clattering as I hurled him across the floor. But the rival Luna was no coward. She darted through the chaos, her voice shrill, commanding the disloyal wolves to strike Melanie. Their eyes burned with confusion. Alpha power should have bound them to me, but her venomous words clung like barbs. "Strike the Omega!" she screamed. "No!" The word ripped from my throat, half growl, half command. My wolves, loyal, true, leapt in, colliding with traitors in a storm of fur and blood. The hall became a battlefield, every cry echoing like thunder against stone. Through it all, my brother came for me. His blade sliced across my shoulder, silver burning as it bit. Pain flared, but it only fed the fury now roaring through me. I snapped around, my massive wolf form towering over him. His smirk was gone. In its place, raw hatred twisted his face. "You should have died the night they cursed you," he spat, sword trembling in his hands. "This throne is mine!" My growl shook the walls. No. I lunged. Claws scraped steel, sparks flying. His blade drove shallow into my ribs, searing agony tearing a howl from me. But I did not stop. My jaws clamped on the blade, wrenching it from his grip with a shudder of metal. I tossed it aside, snapping it in half like kindling. He stumbled back, eyes wide, and I drove him into the stone table where the council had once passed judgment on me. With one strike, it shattered beneath us, marble splitting apart. The rival Luna shrieked, rushing to his side, but Melanie was faster. She stepped forward, snatching the broken torch from the floor. Silver fire licked her hand, threatening to burn, but she lifted it high, her voice cutting through the madness. "No more lies, no more poison, the Alpha King is mine, and I am his!" Her words rang like a bell, the bond between us blazing brighter than any torch. Wolves froze mid-fight. Loyal and traitor alike turned, eyes dragged to her as if the moon itself spoke through her lips. I pressed my paw into my brother's chest, holding him down. His breath came in ragged gasps, his eyes flicking from me to her, knowing he had lost. The rival Luna staggered back, her power unraveling like smoke, her shrill commands fading into silence. The council, pale and trembling, stood in what remained of their seats. One of them, the eldest, robes torn and blood on his lip, dropped to his knees. "Enough," he whispered. "We yield." One by one, the others followed. Their hands rose in surrender, their eyes lowered. The chamber, once filled with violence, fell into stillness. The only sound was my breathing, heavy and fierce. I shifted, my wolf fading back into man. Blood streaked my body, my chest heaving, but I stood tall. Melanie dropped the ruined torch and came to me. I took her hand, lifted it high for all to see. "She is not curse," I said, my voice carrying to every corner of the ruined hall. "She is not weakness. She is Luna. She is mine." The words cracked something deeper than stone. My wolves sank to one knee, heads bowed, their howls rising one by one in pledge. Even those who had fought against me faltered, their instincts bending beneath the truth no council decree could undo. Melanie stood beside me, her chin lifted, her eyes wet but unbroken. I held her there before them all, not as the Omega they had scorned, but as the queen they would never deny again. The chamber echoed with the kneeling of wolves, their submission thunderous. And for the first time, the crown upon me felt like strength, not chains. The hall that had not felt like mine for years now stood remade as my throne room. The broken stone table where the council had passed judgment lay in ruins, swept aside. Torches burned bright along the walls, their light warm, not cruel. And above, through the shattered window, the moon poured silver into the chamber, not a curse this time, but a blessing. Melanie stood beside me, her hands trembling only slightly as my wolves, one by one, bent knee. No one called her Omega anymore. No one called her curse-bearer. They called her Luna. An elder, the last with strength to stand, brought forth the circlet crown. Gold lined with silver, it had weighed heavy on my head for years. A crown that had felt like shackles, a burden chained to betrayal and law. But as I looked at her, I knew it could finally mean something more. "By the bond of the moon," the elder intoned, voice shaking, "and by the will of the Alpha, we name her queen." Melanie's eyes widened as the crown was lifted toward her. She glanced at me, doubt flickering for the briefest moment. I cupped her cheek, my thumb brushing away the salt of tears. "Do not fear it," I murmured. "You are stronger than any crown. You are stronger than me." Her lips curved in the smallest, fiercest smile. She bowed her head, and the circlet was placed upon her. The chamber erupted, not with dissent, not with venom, but with howls. My wolves threw back their heads, voices blending into one storm of devotion that rattled the rafters. Even those who had once followed my brother joined, their instincts no longer fighting what the bond had already declared. Melanie turned to face them, the crown catching the moonlight. She did not speak long, nor did she need to. "I will not rule with you, with chains," she said. "I will rule with him, with you." The howls rose again, louder, shaking the stone walls until dust fell from above. I pulled her close, no longer caring for ceremony, pressing my forehead to hers. Around us, the wolves roared, the council knelt, and the night itself bowed to her. To us. For years, I had lived with a curse in my blood, chains on my wrists, shadows in my heart. I had believed love was weakness, a blade waiting to cut me down. But standing here, her crown gleaming, her hand warm in mine, I finally understood. Love was not my downfall. It was my salvation. I lifted her hand high before them all, our bond blazing brighter than the moonlight spilling through the shattered glass. "The chains are gone," I said, my voice steady, full, and free. My eyes burned into hers, into the only truth I had left. She is my freedom. The hall shook with the cry of my wolves, the song of a kingdom reborn. And for the first time in a lifetime, I felt whole.